Hello dear friends, this is the 24th video in our NET study plan. Today we'll talk about world literature based on previous year questions. World literature means European literature, Latin American literature, Asian literature and new literatures. Which of the following is not a work by Peter Handke? A Sorrow Beyond Dreams, The Moravian Night, Slow Homecoming, The Unconsoled. The answer is The Unconsoled. It is by Kazuo Ishiguro. In exams, Peter Handke and Kazuo Ishiguro are usually asked. Please look up their works. Name the author who was awarded the Booker International Prize in 2005. Philip Roth, Chinua Achebe, Ismail Kadare. It is the Albanian writer Ismail Kadare. Remember, there are questions asked from Nobel laureates, Booker Prize winners, Booker International Prize winners of recent years. Who is the author of the novel The House of the Spirits? Julio Cortázar, Isabel Allende, Roberto Bolaño. It is Isabel Allende, the Chilean writer who wrote The House of the Spirits. She uses magic realism. And another important book by Isabel Allende is City of the Bees. Who of the following was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2019? Is it Peter Handke, Kazuo Ishiguro, Bob Dylan? The answer is Peter Handke. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2019. In 2020, Louis Glock. In 2021, Abdul Razak Gurna. It is before Peter Handke in 2017 that Kazuo Ishiguro won. In 2016, Bob Dylan. Name the author of PYQ 84. Looks like 1984. Is it Hertha Müller, Haruki Murakami, Umberto Eco? PYQ 84 is by the Japanese writer Haruki Murakami and it refers to George Orwell's 1984. It is an epic trilogy and it is a dystopian trilogy set in the year 1984 in a fictional Tokyo. Q here stands for question. Kafka on the Shore, Norwegian Wood. These are other important works by Haruki Murakami. Which of the following is true? Kazuo Ishiguro's Remains of the Day is about the Japanese reconstruction after Second World War. Is it about Japanese reconstruction after Second World War? J.M. Coetzee's Waiting for the Barbarians is set in a frontier town of an empire. Guys, Kazuo Ishiguro's Remains of the Day is entirely set in Britain. It is set in 1956 Britain after the Second World War. And Stephen the Butler of Darlington Hall is remembering the 1920s and 30s. It is Kazuo Ishiguro's Artist of the Floating World. That is about Japanese reconstruction after Second World War. The answer is J.M. Coetzee's Waiting for the Barbarians is set in an unnamed frontier town of an empire. That is correct. Which of the following is true? Julian Sorel is the hero in Stendhal's novel The Charterhouse of Parma. Leo Tolstoy's The Death of Ivan Ilyich deals with an incurable illness of the protagonist. Julian Sorel is not the hero of the Charterhouse of Parma. Julian Sorel is the hero of Stendhal's The Red and the Black. Which is true, Leo Tolstoy's The Death of Ivan Ilyich deals with an incurable illness. It is a tumor, cancer or something in the stomach of the protagonist. The protagonist cares only about himself. He is very self-centered. But just before he dies, he realizes the importance of other people. He realizes that other people are suffering because of him, and he dies a good man. That is the theme of The Death of Ivan Ilyich. Which of the following is true? Julian Barnes's novel England, England deals with Englishness being replicated and turned into a commodity. Halder Laxness's Salka Valka is a maritime adventure novel. Definitely, Julian Barnes's England, England deals with Englishness and how it is turned into a commodity. England, England is a farcical satire. That is correct. Julian Barnes has also written The Sense of an Ending. We have not heard of Salka Valka before. It is an Icelandic novel. And Halder Laxness was the Nobel Prize winner in 1955. It is a feminist coming-of-age novel. Who is the author of the novel The Name of the Rose? Is it Patrick White, Umberto Eco, Dan Brown? It is Umberto Eco who wrote The Name of the Rose. It is a historical murder story set in the 14th century in an Italian monastery. Which of the following novels by Kazuo Ishiguro won the Booker Prize and was made into a successful film? A Pale View of Hills, An Artist of the Floating World, The Remains of the Day. The answer is The Remains of the Day. It was a novel of 1989, and it was in 1993 that Merchant Ivory Productions turned it into a movie with the screenplay by Ruth Prawer Jhabwala. Anthony Hopkins played the role of James Stevens, the protagonist. Which of the following is true? Latin American magic realism is predicated on a history of colonial resistance. What do you mean by predicated on? It means based on. Is Latin American magic realism based on colonialism and its resistance? The Vanguardia movement was influenced by North American literature. No, that is wrong. The Vanguardia movement was influenced by North American literature is wrong. Vanguardia movement is a South American or Latin American movement. The correct answer is Latin American magic realism is predicated on a history of colonial resistance. Which of the following is true? Expressionism was a movement in German theatre involving a reaction against realism. Surrealism was the only influence on Expressionism. Now, Expressionism was a movement in German theatre involving a reaction against realism. That is correct. Famous German Expressionist playwright was Georg Kaiser. In America, there were Expressionists like Eugene O'Neill, Elmer Rice. It is not true that Surrealism was the only influence on Expressionism. Which of these pairs is wrongly matched? Tony Kushner, Angels in America. Georg Buchner, Wojciech. Luigi Pirandello, Henry IV. Peter Handke, offending the audience. Take a look at these authors, important. All are correct. These are all correct. Angels in America is a play by the American playwright Tony Kushner. Wojciech is by the German playwright Georg Buchner. Luigi Pirandello wrote the Italian play Henry IV. It is about a man who believes himself to be the Holy Roman Emperor Henry IV. And the Austrian playwright Peter Handke wrote Offending the Audience. In the last canto of Homer's Iliad, who convinced Achilles to give away the dead body of Hector for a ransom? You might know that Achilles killed Hector and he was dragging Hector's body through the battlefield. He was refusing to give it up for burial. So who convinced him? Is it Thetis, Hera, or Priam? The answer is Priam. Priam is Hector's father and the king of Troy. He tearfully implores Achilles, and finally Achilles releases the body of Hector to Priam. This is from Homer's Iliad. Which of these pairs is wrongly matched? Mario Vargas Llosa, The Time of the Hero. Alejo Carpentier, The Lost Steps. Carlos Fuentes, Old Gringo. Ta-dang! All are correct. Mario Vargas Llosa is a Peruvian novelist. The Time of the Hero is his first novel. It is a scathing picture of a military school that Llosa attended. Alejo Carpentier is a Cuban novelist. In The Lost Steps, the narrator is an American citizen in New York, traveling with his girlfriend to a very remote place, the mouth of a South American river. Carlos Fuentes is Mexican, like Octavio Paz is also Mexican. Old Gringo, you will be surprised, is the story of Ambrose Bierce, the American writer. Old Gringo by Carlos Fuentes is the story of Ambrose Bierce. After their arrival in Dido's Carthage, who spoke to Dido first and prayed for assistance? The question doesn't say which book. It is Virgil's Aeneid. Is it Aeneas, Ascanius, or Ilioneus? Answer is Aeneas. Aeneas and Dido are lovers in Aeneid. Dido loves Aeneas, and when Aeneas abandons her, she commits suicide. Plato's allegory of the cave occurs in which book? Is it Phaedrus, the Symposium, or the Republic? It is the Republic. There are 3 allegories in the Republic. Plato's allegory of the cave, which is an allegory of education and enlightenment. Also, allegory of the divided line and allegory of the sun. The original title of Horace's critical work Ars Poetica is dash. Peripometon, Epistula ad Pisonis, De Poetica. Ars Poetica is also called Epistle to Piso. So the answer is Epistula ad Pisonis. Epistle means letter. It is in the form of a letter written to Piso. He who is unable to live in a society or who has no need because he is sufficient for himself must be either a beast or a god. Who has given this above statement? Is it Aristotle, Plato, or Rousseau? It is Aristotle in the book Politics who said this. What is the meaning? Man is a political animal. He cannot be self-sufficient completely. He needs other people. He needs to live in the society. Identify the work from which this excerpt is taken. In a universe that is suddenly deprived of illusions and of light, man feels a stranger. He is an irremediable exile. This divorce between man and his life, the actor and his setting, truly constitutes the feelings of absurdity. Is this from Franz Kafka's The Trial, Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot, or Albert Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus? Answer is Albert Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus. The Myth of Sisyphus talks about a world of absurdity. Why is it absurd? Because this world is not rational. Here, life is meaningless and not worth living. This is a philosophical suicide. Now do study these short authors. European literature. Also, short authors from Latin American literature. Tomorrow, again, we'll have more questions from world literature from previous year papers. Until then, bye-bye. Enjoy studying.